Welcome to Stock Time to Improv. I'm Mary Scott with Business Riff, and I want startups to be wildly successful. One of the things that startups who are getting there have to do at some point is that first hire. And today we're talking with Rhonda Travers from Travers Training, and we're going to talk about attracting talent and what you need to know about that first hire. Thanks for coming, Rhonda.
Oh, well, good afternoon, and thanks for having me.
Sure. So, what do people need to know about attracting talent?
Attracting talent is part of the entire employee life cycle. As you're getting started and you want to grow your team, that's just the first phase of how you're attracting the talent, because then after that, you want to onboard, you want to retain, and then sometimes you need to offboard. It's called what are you doing from the time you hire to the time they retire. And so, in today's world with attracting talent, there's a lot around our digital space. And so, the first thing our Gen Z candidate is going to do is check out your electronic presence. So, the first tip I just want to share with you about attracting talents is what is your purpose as an organization? What is your mission, your vision, your values? And is that consistent and present and clear across all of your social media platforms, across your website, across your community presence? And then how does that translate with their experience with you during that interview, either be it's digitally or virtually or in person? That is so critical, is understanding what are your vision, your mission, and your goals.
And I was thinking, as startups, sometimes one of the first hires is the person who actually creates the website, which means that you've got other things you need to showcase before that. So, um, would you suggest that making sure your LinkedIn profile is very clear on who you are and what you intend to be?
Absolutely. I work with a lot of clients where if you look at their LinkedIn or their Facebook pages, their personal ones, there's not a lot of clarity with what they're doing, or it's not even been updated, or it's like a photo, like a selfie photo in a car. And so the more professional you can show who you are as a business owner and what you and your organization represents and how you're going to serve clients, that's really going to help generate that interest. So absolutely start with your LinkedIn and then move on to that website.
And usually, and in my experience, one of the very first hires for any startup, if it's not a co-founder, it would be a virtual assistant. Do you have any tips on what kind of questions to ask or how to go about doing that?
With a virtual assistant, once again, having clearly defined roles. What do you want that person to do? And this is actually very applicable across any role that you're wanting to start, is going back to that purpose. What is the purpose of the role? What are those tasks, those expectations that you are looking for in that virtual assistant or a future employee in a different role? Do you have those documented and thought through? And then specific to a virtual assistant is going to be more around is that somebody who you want to have local contact with, or are you comfortable with working with someone who might not be in the same city as you and having more clear expectations communicated either via email, via phone call, or virtual, because that person's truly not in the same space as you. But the clear goal is what is the purpose driving what your agreement is around tasks, turnaround, deadlines, payment. How are you going to pay that person? So these are all very important things to consider, especially with a virtual assistant.
What are some of the mistakes people make in hiring?
With busy business owners, I call it you are flying the plane while you're building it. So you're into the business because of the passion and the expertise of why you are starting that business. And you might be doing a lot of things on the fly and not wanting to spend a moment to sit and document and sit and think through. And so I hear a lot of owners say, oh, I talked to someone over coffee this weekend and I'm going to decide to hire them. They're just doing it on the fly. They're doing it what feels right at that moment. And that takes a lot of energy away from other pieces that you could be focusing on as a business owner. But it also could be very costly without having a process around your hiring. Then that creates inconsistencies and a lot of time spent of, okay, I just asked this person these questions over here, and now I'm hiring for over here, and now I have these questions over here. And you spend a lot of time just trying to figure out what you said, what was said, and is that person truly the right candidate for the role that you have? And I see a lot of people hire, and then about 6 to 9 months later, they need to part ways because it just wasn't the right alignment of skill sets and need, or there's a lack of clarity. Um, if you don't, going back to your purpose, having clearly defined expectations around a role and having them documented around a job description, around a role, that is going to help with the interview process. Having different sets of interview questions to fit the role that you're looking for is key as well.
And understand that if you're hiring somebody to do something you can do but don't have time to do, there may be more than one way to do that.
Yes.
And it doesn't, that the person you're hiring doesn't necessarily have to do it your way if the job gets done well.
Exactly. And that kind of goes back to having clearly defined roles, expectations, and what is the outcome? What is that role going to be doing? And going back to the question around, interviewing in today's world, our candidates now are looking for what is a day in the life of that role. Especially Gen Z, they're wanting to know what those expectations are during the interview. So the more that you have clarity and definition around that, the more you're going to be able to express and explain that in an interview so that not only you as the owner is making the right decision of if this candidate meets the skill sets that you're looking for, but the candidate can also make a very educated decision around, is this a good fit for me? And how do I fit into the overall organization? How do I see where the vision and where the direction of that organization is going? And how am I going to contribute to fit to that? Because people want to know they're making a difference. That helps with engagement and retention. And it all starts with that interview. And how are you going to attract the talent so that you can retain that talent?
These are all excellent points. And coming up with those questions really will help you focus on exactly what is your mission and what is your purpose and what specifically do you need. So we're going to put contact information and other other information into comments so people can get a hold of Rhonda if they want to. Do you have parting thoughts, Rhonda?
Because right now, behavior based questions are so critical. Those are the ones where the candidate's going to explain a situation that they've actually managed and navigated through and coming up with results. So that's going to help you identify the type of skill set that they have. So I'd love to talk further around all those components around how to have an effective interview. And I would love to connect with you further.
Okay, and we'll put that link in comments. Thanks again, Rhonda Travers from Travers Training. And
Well,
I'm
thank
Mary
you.
Scott with Business Riff. I want startups to be wildly successful. And one of the best things you can do to accomplish that is book a call with me at businessriff.com and join us again next time for Stuck, Time to Improv.